You could keep debugging Docker with 5 terminals and endless scrolling, or you could open one browser window and see all your container logs live. This is Dozzle, an open source real-time log viewer that streams container logs live to your browser and doesn't actually store them. That's why it stays so tiny, around 7 megabytes and fast. Let's see how you can set this up and put it to real use right now. You might have 3 terminals open, maybe 5. We're running Docker logs on each one. We're scrolling, searching, switching tabs. That's just the cost of working with containers. Dozzle now gives us a simpler way to see everything live in one place without building a whole logging stack. It supports Docker, Docker Swarm, Kubernetes, and multi-host setups using agents. Plus, version 10 just dropped, which adds alerts, webhooks, cloud support, and important security updates. It's built for one thing: live visibility while you debug. Time to show you how to set it up and why it can completely change how you debug Docker apps. If saving time in your development workflow matters to you, subscribe. We're always covering practical tools to make a difference. Now, on the outside, Dozzle sounds like another logging tool. We expect something heavy, something that stores data, something that needs a database, but it's kind of the opposite here. Let's set it up in less than 60 seconds. First, pull the image with the command that I run right here. I'm going to run it. Mount the Docker socket and expose the port. That's it. There's no database, there's no indexing, and I don't have to wait around. I switched up my ports because I'm already running other containers, one of which uses the standard one. Now I can just open my browser, open localhost, and we immediately see our containers running. The thing you expect from setup just never shows up. This just runs really well. If you use Docker Compose, define a service with the image, map the port, mount the Docker socket, and pass in the no analytics flag. Then run Docker Compose up, you're done. The only real things to watch for are socket permissions and making sure you're running version 10 or newer if you want the latest updates. That's the entire setup loop. It's nothing crazy here, but the UI and practicality of this is. Now, here's where all this will hopefully click. When you open Dozzle, you see a clean list of all your running containers. There's no real dashboards, so it's just our services. I can start typing in the search bar like DB, and instantly your database container appears, no exact naming required. Click a container and logs start streaming live. We don't need to refresh anything, it just does this for us. I made a dummy container to simulate failing requests, but if you have an app of yours already, just try to trigger a fail request. As soon as that error happens, it appears in the browser. I don't have to switch terminals, I'm not rerunning commands. The moment something breaks, I'm going to see it right here in the interface. In version 10, there's SQL mode powered by DuckDB. You can switch modes in the terminal and run a query like selecting entries. This is super basic here, but I could make a query and it's going to be returned here in Dozzle. Okay, but it gives us the idea. So instead of scanning with our eyes, we can now just query logs. You can also define a condition if you want, like CPU usage going above 80%, and attach a webhook to Slack or another endpoint, which makes this feel a lot more interactive. That was one of the features in the newest update. Before you expose this outside your local machine, make sure you enable authentication, set the environment and variable, and provide a user's configuration file. That just protects access. Now, in Kubernetes, deploy it using manifests or Helm, mount the necessary logs, and expose through a service. Just 2 final thoughts before I move on here. Now, I want to be clear about what this is and what this isn't. Dozzle is a simple, lightweight, and focused on live streaming. It doesn't store logs. That keeps it fast and more privacy friendly. But it also means it's not built for long-term retention. So do that with what you will. If you need persistent storage and dashboards, there are countless better choices out there that we're already using. But for live streaming open source ways to analyze the containers, I found this pretty cool. Every minute you spend switching terminals, scanning logs, is time you're not fixing the problem. Dozzle hopefully removes that, at least it appears to do so. It centralizes your logs, adds filtering, SQL queries, and split views, and also adds alerts in version 10, all without becoming too heavy or complex. Set it up in your next Docker project, see how quickly you can spot issues. If you found this helpful, be sure to subscribe for more dev-focused content. We'll see you in another video.